What's up, everyone? Bradley Jack Design here with another Discord critique. We just pull up the list we have here. This is for pretty much anything done before like January 25th. So it's a big group of people. All right, here we go. Let me find my pen. So we mark these bad boys up. Theoretically. My tablet's not tableting. So let's see if I can fix that real quick. It's plugged in but not plugged in. There. Maybe that'll work. I don't really need to use this tablet. It's just more fun to do it with this tablet. Anyway, we're gonna start with Conan Designs, Ivan. He's got a, let's do it without this. You don't need no stinking tablet. All right, so he's got a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander graphic going on here. Let's see what we have going on. So like, I like how you've got this stuff at the bottom. You've got your tag there. I would match this with this though, just so it's evenly spaced, so it's not randomly over to the side here. Just like a nitpicky thing. And then like the same thing with Shai in the middle, you know, so like move him over so he's the center of the graphic. You know, move him over just slightly, maybe move him down a little bit, just so he's not off to the side. I see you've got a couple bears down here. This one's kind of hard to see. This one you can see a little bit better. And I get you're playing against the Grizzlies, so that makes sense. But maybe brighten up this a little bit is probably something I would do. Let's see what we have in as the lighting itself. So you got, it's real funky. I see what you're doing. So you have the lightning and it's like going through his body. So like I like these guys here, like these veins you have going through. I feel like this could have been done a little bit differently. Like he's absorbing lightning, but then like just shooting off this like sort of faded light trail. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. I do like that you're adding a complementary color here. But I don't know if it's too isolated or there's too much contrast, because I feel like it would light up a lot more up in this area if it was more realistic. Like you've got it here and you've got it where it's hitting this area, and it does tail off a little bit on these, which is fine. You have it, you know, showing here, but do it in the back a little bit. I think that might help. Maybe a little bit of red on the edge here. You have some here, which is good. But I think if you have just a little bit here and a little bit on his leg, it might sell it a little bit better. But I like what you're doing. I think he's in the scene well. I just think there's a lot of things you're doing here. I think if you just tone it down a little bit on what's actually happening and brighten up the bears, it might look a little bit better. We're going to skip around real quick so we go in order of how I have this. All right. Steve Young Designs. Got this Eagles playoffs Buccaneers graphic. That's how you can tell how old some of these graphics are. All right, we have my tablet's back, so we're gonna use that. Monitor 1. Hey, we're back. Okay, it's just easier to, you know, I can just circle things. Okay, so like you've got the sun coming from the side and like good. I think these guys are all lit pretty well. You know, I like what's going on above this area. I think it's done pretty well. It's not bad down here. I think I would have just spaced these out better. You know, there's a lot of room over here by Gronk and a little bit by Mike Evans, so maybe I would have probably just had it so it's split evenly in thirds, split up this whole area. So I wouldn't have had them so grouped together. I'm not like crazy about, like I get what you're trying to do. I just don't know if it's done completely to its fullest ability of, you know, waves coming, because it's more fog than water coming up. But I don't really know what I would have done there. Similar thing, but with more water instead of fog, I feel. Or just add more fog down here, so you can't tell. I think if you would have added more fog down here, it would have blended in a little bit better. But like, your lighting's good on here. I think you've got some of these guys lit pretty well. Nothing really more to say than that. I like the composition. I think it's good. Just like just moving these guys over around, they're blurred nicely, and you've got the effects on them as well. So yeah, I think pretty solid overall. Next up, we've got Culture with this Hornets graphic. Hornets UFO. So I guess they're on a UFO and they're in space. So there's a lot going on with this. And you've got them all, exposed down because you want to show the lighting. But it's all done just sort of generically, sort of heavy-handed. Like, you've got some good little areas here where you have some of those purples. But there's no, there's the purple light source in the back, but you don't do that for this yellow. Like, you kind of have the yellow here, but you don't follow the same way you would do it here. And you've got some there. I just think the lighting could be a little bit better. I don't really like the sort of glow you have on the text, because you've got this inner shadow, but then you also have a glow on top of it. So it doesn't make sense to me how that would work out, because you can't really have an inner dark glow if it's also glowing. So I think it kind of contradicts each other. I feel like this is really distracting, like this big blurry comedy thing, just because you've got static planet, pretty static UFO that they're standing on. So just keep playing around with getting better at lighting. I think you have, they're in purple space or whatever. I just think they're all in general too purple. And then if you were to dumb down the purple, you'd be able to add it in with the lighting a little bit easier. We got CSD Visuals with his Raptors design. I don't know who this is. I'm going to guess it's Scotty Barnes, because I think that's a player for the Raptors and he's a rookie. So you got some Raptors in the front, guys in the back. Seen it before, but I think it's always fun. I would do that, in a heartbeat. This is looking pretty good down here. Shadows, nice. I think your background is a little too crazy. There's a little too much going on with it. Like, I think you lit these guys well. Like, I like how the dinosaurs look. I just think if you had a more neutral background, you'd be able to focus on the front items more. Because there's a lot of contrast going on in the background and a lot of stuff that's distracting. And it's distracting you from this composition you've put together of three guys, which I also do like. We do clip the hair out really well. When I zoom in, everything's a little, a little blurry. I think if you might, I don't know if you added like a little bit of a blending mode or something to everything. But overall I like it. I feel like I would have liked to see a different way to separate these in the back. It's just kind of like, here's a cliff, and then there's this road that ends into nothing. But here's this cliff, and then behind the cliff is three giant Scotty Barnes, and behind them is a big multiverse dimensional who's a what's it, So I think just tone it down in the background and focus more on what we have going on in the front. I think it'd be a little bit better. But it's good. We got Advanced Visuals. This is a Tomas Sadaransky graphic. So I like what you have going on in the background. I think it's a nice base for a design to put a player on. You have the shadows that are down here pretty decently. I don't know if this is like a natural place for someone to stand. Like, I think this background would be really nice for someone who's in the air dunking or doing a layup or something. Put it in the background. This is a nice little accent you've got going on here. I do like these accents that you have going on. I feel like the player is like, I don't know what the intent is, but he looks like a cartoon. Yeah, he looks like it. He looks illustrated because like his face is so soft, and his skin is just, it looks like it's just painted. So if that's the point, then that's good. But like me, I don't want him to look fake. I want him to look real. And that's really my only critique of this. You know, this text down here is a little wanting. Like, you've got this text here and you use it here, but then you give up on it here and just add in stuff randomly. It's like, to me, that seems a little bit odd. But I like the composition of how things are going. Ideally, you would have these align up at the top, which you pretty much do, which you do, so that's good. You know, I like how you have things lined up. I think just this text area is a little odd to me. And then, you know, just how illustrated his skin tone looks. And then, I don't know, is there something, you've got a little bit of area here that's sort of wanting something. You know, maybe if this just said NOLA or something like that. Maybe that's something you could do. I don't know. Cacao.psd. Let me hit some buttons real quick. We've got a Jordan Clarkson design going on here. Just need to make sure I didn't get assigned. Oh, okay. Just make sure I don't have to do something real quick. Okay, we're good. All right, so we have this. Whoop. Sorry, Jordan Clarkson design by Cacao.psd. You know, I think the editing on Jordan's done pretty well. I think you did. I think this is, you know, this is all pretty nice. I think the skin tone and everything looks good here. He blended in the rocks to intertwine and play with his, oh god, play with the numbers, with him in the front, with some shadows down here. I think that's all pretty good. Let's see here. So like the black over here is hard to read. I probably would have just kept everything white and then just changed the weight of the font for contrast. The size is good, but like this leaves me wanting a little bit more. And then hold on one sec. Yeah, I mean, it's just great overall. I would just tweak the text. The background, I don't like that this is black. I would have probably put a gradient map that used some of the same colors up here, just so it blended in a little bit better. But all in all, I don't really have much to say. Like the compositions, everything outside this text in the background, I think is great. And I don't really have anything else to say about it. You know, maybe tighten up this clip a little bit so you don't see this edge right here. You know, we can, you know, nitpick things because I don't have much to tell you. So that's what I would do. We got Bradley Seaton Designs with his muted tones per usual. So this is a Cobra Kai graphic. I'm like, I know what this is. Say the words. So I know a couple things he did, like he made this belt black and he's got this guy in the front. Basically kind of makes it look like a photo, you know, something like that. I don't know if there's anything else you would be able to show to basically share more about what's going on in the scene, you know? Because basically it's a photo composition of he's in the front, he's in the back. Honestly, it's like this is your handle's not readable with this font. It just all jumbles together. And you have it covering up the design. Like, I get it. People do that. They put their stuff, you know, right in the dead center thing. So if someone takes it and does credit for it, they're going to get mad. But, like, Don't put it in the middle of the design. Put it in the corner somewhere or something like that. And that's, you know, would be a suggestion. I think you lit him up pretty well over here. I think it looks pretty nice. I don't know, maybe part of the background here isn't as blurry as back here because it's a, you know, it's a wall that comes down, and there's a, you know, wall that would come out to space, so then you got your guy on it. This wouldn't be blurry, this would be blurry, you know, I don't know. But I mean, for what I think for what you're trying to do, I think you did a solid job. Designed by Jake, Shohei Ohtani graphic. Let's take a look here. Just look at all of these marks on this bat, just from how he's just, you know, hitting dingers. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say to this. I feel like his skin up here is a little more desaturated than this, which I think is a little too orange right there, but up here it's fine. Composition good, big, small. Maybe some text if you wanted to add it to it. I like the little cherry blossom things you got going on in the front. And the little house back here. I feel like you could have incorporated this more, because it's like kind of there, but not. But then what would happen if you put text in this? And then what is going on back here? Like you can, there's like some Renaissance painting in the background you can barely see. I think it's a fun little texture element, but like, why? And if I'm gonna have it in there, I might want to make it a little bit more apparent. But I do like the white and red vibes we have going on here. I don't really have much to say. It's a good design. Blurred in the front, stuff's good. You know, I think I would have taken parts of Shohei like this that's behind, partially behind things, and just masked it out. Same with over here, so then you could see this house better, and you could see the cherry blossoms or whatever these are in the front a little better. I think that's really all I would have tweaked with this. But overall, pretty solid. We got Vince King. Jesus. Vince King with the Chiefs Kingdom graphic. Compositionally, nice. Got a nice big group of people. Got some big guys, middle guys, small guys. I think that's good. These shadows to me are a little too dark. Just down at the bottom. And then, I know like this is probably the Chiefs color. I would have just made it red. Or I would have sampled something from the jersey. Like the colors are never the same. Like this is probably what their Chiefs color red is. But I would have just made it more red to match the jerseys. And then, you know, said hell to the brand standards. You've got some light source coming from here, which I can see you're putting on some of the folks. I think it would show up better if everyone was a little more underexposed, just so the highlights would show up a little bit better. But just do it a little bit more fine-tuned with a little bit more intent, which is easier with like you know, a stylist or something like that. But it just seems mildly heavy-handed. But the background I think is solid. I think it's asking for a little bit of texture in some of these areas. You've got texture from the buildings back here, but I think a little bit of just some sort of grain would do this a little bit better. And then maybe do something so you can see the G and the D behind Chiefs Kingdom. Now, if you're a Chiefs fan, you know this is going to say Kingdom, so it doesn't really matter if that's your target audience. But just a suggestion. Okay, we've got JCPSD with this Ja Morant graphic. You know, cool stuff going on in the background right away. I think these all play well together, the yellow, white, and black and blue. You got a court down here. You know, is it realistic to how big he is? Probably. I don't know. Just something I think about. I don't like that there's sort of this hard edge, and then you have like a blur over it. I don't know if you can have some of that blur come over the line, maybe. Just like a personal preference. I'm trying to decide if I like the edges on the text or not. I probably would have just kept it cleaner because you've got everything else a little bit more gritty. Like I think this texture is maybe a little bit too demanding, especially on the black. Maybe tone it down just a little bit. I like that you've got sort of a composition going on. I would just try and balance things out. You know, space between here equals the space here. Or move him over here and have him stay here, so then we have one big group and then one small jaw. You know, maybe that's something that can be done compositionally. I like everything else pretty much. I think I've said this to a bunch of people, but I think this is a little heavy-handed. You know, some of the light would probably hit here to be realistic. It would hit his shoulder, hit his arm if this was a light source. You only have it on this jaw, you know, you don't have it on the other ones, but you do have the blue. Again, a little heavy-handed here. You know, it's going to hit his hair, but it's also going to hit the side of his face. It's going to hit his ear. It's going to hit his neck. It's going to hit right here. You do it a little bit here. But then, like, why is this so bright? Is it the original photo, or are you adding that in? You know, you could easily just put, like, his name down here. It said Ja Morant. So then this is really the focus, and then you don't have to have all this crazy stuff going on. Just Ja Morant with the logo. I think that would have looked nice, and it would have offset the balance of here, fill in this area a little bit. But I like it, you know. I think you edited the photos well. Just a couple suggestions. JMD Graphics, got Joe Burrow here. So there's a lot of stuff in here that I think you could fix. So like, first off, the background's reading more red than orange. So make sure, you know, I don't know, use a gradient map and sample color from his helmet or color from the logo here. I think the composition up here, it's not, you know, it's not great. It seems like an afterthought. Compositionally, I think you can improve. Because right now you just have like, here's a bunch of stuff going on, and then big old white space of nothing. And then his name for some reason is over here. You know, if you were to move his name over here, it would read a little bit better because it would be balanced more, and then move everything over to the right a little bit. I think the texture in the background's a little too harsh. Tone that down just a bit. But like, what are we supposed to look at up here? Everything is the same size, so we don't know where we're supposed to look. You know, if I were to do something like this, you know, I might write the names out instead. I wouldn't put the wild card right there. I'd put, you know, wild card in the corner somewhere. Maybe we have, you know, Raiders versus Bengals versus, you know, something like that. Or even if it's something like that, and then like maybe the time or something. I also don't like the drop shadow on it. It's a generic drop shadow. It's something that, like, if someone were to see this, they'd say this is somewhat amateur because it's just a generic drop shadow. You probably don't need a drop shadow because they have white borders. It's white. The white would contrast well enough on the background. You don't need it. I think, you know, this Joe Burrow looks nice. You know, this seems just kind of randomly placed. You know, balance it out. So the top of the tiger is at the top of the helmet, and it comes down here. So then these command the same amount of space. And then nudge Joe Burrow so he's dead center. And then you have this sort of asymmetrical design going on. Those are some things I would probably work on in the future. Composition. You know, don't have stuff butt up right against the edge. You know, give it some breathing room. Just some things to think about for next time. We got Ethan here, Hexy Graphics, Jonathan Taylor Design. I found this photo of Jonathan Taylor as well and was going to use it for something but didn't. So I like what you've got going on here. You got this blurred tree in the front, which is nice. Adds depth with all of this going on down here, which is all great. I think you edited the photo well here. It's a little bright over here. I feel like I probably would have toned this down a little bit. But like, I don't know why you have this big, just like, thing. Broken ice or something coming off of him. I think it's distracting. I don't think you need it. I think the piece would work better if you got rid of that. And then, like, if you're going to put his name on here this tiny, I probably wouldn't put it on there. Or if I would have different contrasts between Jonathan and Taylor. Maybe put the number 28 behind him or something. It just seems like something you threw in there just because. The snow overlay looks good. The light overlay you have looks good. I think just get rid of this big spiky thing in the middle and take out his name, and I think it's pretty solid. I think that would help. Everything else looks good though. Don't have much to say on that. You got Ben BP Graphics with this graphic here. I don't know who this guy is because I don't follow the NBA that well. But I think you did a good job of having, you know, 3 different versions. Looks pretty realistic to me lining up here. You got people in the background. You have them all reflecting too, which I think is a good job. The only thing I would really say is just like, I don't know, the photo quality doesn't look that great. It could just be, you know, it's 1600 by 1300. Could just be the photos you're working with, but you know, if you don't have control over that, you don't have control over that. I feel like right here, I feel like these guys don't need to be as blurred as these guys, because theoretically his head would be equal to like someone sitting here. So I think maybe toning down the blur on this, but it really depends on the photo, because like, I don't know. Not a lot to say. I mean, I think you did a solid job of having them on there. Oh, we've got Nadal 16. We have this Denver Bronco in what looks like a snow globe. I like how you have everything contained in here. You know, you've got the snow globe look. I feel like I want to see something back here, because like, why is it just on black, you know? Like, what's the point of it? I feel like there could be some better coloring on him. I feel like it's such a cold scene. I think he sticks out like a sore thumb, to be honest. Like, I would have made him darker in the front, because then you could really see these highlights you put on the back, if he's supposed to be in the same scene as this. And then maybe some warping or like a different shine on the front. You know, I don't like how close he is to the bottom of the glass, or the bottom here. You know, I'd probably put his foot here just so there's padding, spacing, something like that. And then if this is emitting green light, you know, make this light green, you know, down here or something like that. I just think the whole point of having I think it would be cooler if you had this snow globe, then you actually could see behind it or see through it. Because right now it's just sort of like a frame. You can't see through it really, because it's, you know, not really a snow globe. But, you know, it's also Photoshop, so like, you can do whatever you want. That's what I would probably do. Stormy Designs. We've got this Jalen Green design here. Look here. I know people gave some feedback to this designer already, but like, when I see this sticks out, everything's real grainy. Not in a good way. And like, a lot of his skin tone just like, it seems real crispy and burnt out, which I don't care much for. You know, it's hard to read his name, Jalen Green. I think this trophy's taking up too much space. And you can see that it clearly says Karl Anthony Towns on it. So like, if you're gonna add it in there, Photoshop Jalen Green on here in the Rockets. You could easily make it so you can see through this, you know, using some blend ifs, so I would have done that as well. Because then it looks like what is this? Is this his skin that wasn't photoshopped off, or like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on there. I would take, if you're gonna put his signature on there, this looks a little too faint for me. You know, you want it to be on there nice and bold so they can see it, not, you know, tiny and sort of somewhat transparent. Oops, go back, there we go. But then compositionally, you've got a bunch of stuff that's like, Rockets logo is huge and taking up a lot of space for your eye. Your eye wants to look at it. This is taking up a lot of attention. This calls for a lot of attention. You know, so then you don't know where to look. You're just kind of hopping around the graphic. There's no set order. Also, the shadow down here just doesn't look too terribly realistic. That's probably what I would tweak on that. Let me look one thing up real quick. I see something on my account. Maybe not. Oh, maybe here. Hold on one sec. Nope, not here. Well, we're gonna keep going. All right. We're gonna skip this one based on the name of the person. So, nope. TH Graphics, Jalen Brown, Free Your Mind. Got this sort of, not sort of, have a Matrix vibe going on. I think pretty solid. I feel like, I like the patch on here, but I feel like it's distracting from what you've got going on. I would probably get rid of this because it doesn't fit the motif of everything. It's not dark. You know, if it's on the equal plane as this Jalen, but it's just bright and bold, and hey, here's a patch, you know? I like how you've got this down here, contrasting with that. I think you did a good job of doing that. Depth with some of the matrix in front, behind, going in the background. You've got some just stuff going on with lights, I think is good. Yeah, I mean, this looks good in the back. Maybe add a little bit more green, but not really. I think it's fine. I don't know if you are trying to make his back a bit light, like where brown is. I probably would just kept it darker, just to fit the same as what's going on here. But you lit up around here pretty well. His arms pretty well. I feel like this might be a little too dark, just because it's not so dark here, because his numbers are so bright. I think you did that intentionally. I think it looks a teeny bit funky, but like nothing to really be too concerned with. Overall, I like this graphic. I don't really have much to say about it. I think you did a good job. Just a couple of those little things. I don't know, maybe throw Easter eggs in the background or something. You know, change this font to say, instead of say Paramount, it says something like your name, or I don't know, something dumb. Or hide some stuff in the matrix code. I don't know. It's a good graphic. OD Designs. We've got this Lonzo Ball graphic. I really like the double exposure you've got going on here. You can kind of see it might say Bulls there. I like the grain on this because it's just sort of supposed to be textural, which is nice. Same with the Chicago, it's tiny. Oh, and it repeats Bulls, Bulls, Bulls. Okay, that's nice, just as a background element. And when we get to the foreground, I don't know, you've got big, littler, guys that are kind of the same size and small. So I don't know if I would want you to move this guy over, get rid of this guy, and then adjusted the composition to match. I don't think it really matters. I think I really just want you to move this head up so it's right here. So there's more balance between the heads, because you've got these three and then he's way up here. I think it would just invite you to come down this way a little bit better. I really don't like this text. You know, I just don't like how you did it, to be honest. Like, I like the exploration, I just don't think it works for how well you have all the other type created in this. I think this just distracts from it. And I would just get rid of it, to be honest. I just noticed this. I would just get rid of this Bulls. I don't think you need it. Yeah, I think this is such a highlight of the piece. You covered up with 4 guys. I think that might be what I'm trying to think. Maybe one less guy. And then you have to play around with the composition. Back here, but we're not doing that one. We're going here. Seabrook Graphics. Casey Brockhagen. Santi the Moor Slayer. Oh, see? So this reads Santi the Moor Dragon Slayer. Or Santi. So that's a problem. Put it above so then it reads, we read left to right, top to bottom. So think about that. I like what's going on in the background. Big phoenixy thing. Planets, lava, you know, clouds. Just a bunch of stuff. I feel like he's too crispy then, though, on the front. Like, he's He's got these big old highlights on his face. But he has this big light source in the front. So, like, realistically, he would be a lot darker in the front. And then, like, it looks better down here because he's already dark. And you have the light shining on him. So I think that works well. But just, you know, things... I would just darken up the front so that you can accentuate the light from the background. So this actually looks like a big light. And then the text at the bottom you gotta fix because it doesn't read correctly. You know, there's no reason to have the on a different line because it's just 3 things. You know, just have it say the Dragon Slayer and have his name above it. I think that would be a little bit better. JCPSD James Harden. Got some crispy hair going on here. You really got the sharpening going on in the hair here. I feel like texturally there's a little too much going on. Like you've got, you know, these trees, you know, these brush strokes and like all this grungy color, which I think is nice with the background. I think it's this border and the white you have on top of it that is distracting from everything else. Because it makes this harder to read. And I think you did the text pretty well. So I think getting rid of this and this and the border on the edge, because it's not even to the edge, you know, there's this gap here. If you're going to do that, put it to the edge so there is no gap. I think you edited the photos pretty decently. I just feel like his beard is a little too distracting because it's so crispy looking, you know? And then I would have figured out something to do down here where you have this gradient. I think you need to fade it in just a little bit more finely. Same here. Maybe you put Harden right there. I don't know. But I think just pull back on the textures a little bit. I think it'll be a little bit better of a graphic. We already did one of yours, Ivan. I'll put this on the docket for next week. There was a little confusing when I was doing the entries, so I'll just save that for next week. No big deal. All right, we got Dorian made this, D26 Graphics. He photoshopped all this stuff together. So I don't like this like weird gradient you have between the fans. I don't think it works how you were planning on it working. I might have bumped him up just a little bit from the bottom. It's just like it's hard to focus on stuff. I don't know what it is. Like you've got this, I don't know. I think it's because you have this paper texture on top of everything, but then you have a scene. So it's like we're looking through a film and it's hard to look at, you know? I think get rid of this paper texture on the front and keep it more of an environmental scene. But then you've got him in the back, which isn't realistic for this, but I think that's fine. You know, try and separate those scenes then somehow. It's just like compositionally, I don't know where to look because these guys have the same. These guys take up the same amount of space in front of the eye, especially with the player trying to tackle him. And then you do have a background elements that work. I just don't know where I'm supposed to look, you know? So I think just control a little bit more where I'm supposed to look with the composition. Because I think these guys are fighting for attention. So I think making, you know, maybe this smaller, both these guys smaller, basically zooming out on that scene, or having him in the background sort of ghosted, just to really tell me where I'm supposed to look. Oh, we got this Cam Reddish design. This is designed by Pro. So Cam Reddish in a Knicks uniform. We got Obi here in the bottom, so that's already a dub. I don't have much to say on this. You know, I like the black and white with the color pull out here. I just noticed it says Reddish at the top, so maybe put that somewhere else so it doesn't have so much contrasting stuff in the back, or maybe put a big vignette around everything so you can read Reddish a little bit better. I would have photoshopped out where it says Spectrum, just because it's bleeding in. You know, it says C-SPAM, sort of. So I would probably do that. I probably would get rid of this New York Knicks ghosted logo that's only on the top. Like, I don't know why it's there, you know? I think the cam is fine and the reddish is fine. I probably would have added a little bit of a shadow just for more depth, so it actually looked like the shadow was there. You know, give these little sticker guys a shadow as well. I think that would have helped a little bit more. But other than that, I don't have much to say. I think solid job all around. All right, then we got CT Designs. Got OBJ overlooking what I assume is San Francisco. Not San Francisco, what I assume is Los Angeles. Yeah, and like composition, lighting, I think it's good. Like, I don't know the intent of this design because like everything is down here and there's nothing up here. You know, he's just like awkwardly, you know, I would have liked to see the whole, you know, part of this building, like the front of this building or more of this building. But I think the photo might have been an issue where it was. I just don't like how it's so close. I want to see his full body. But if the photo you found didn't allow for that, it didn't allow for that. I think the scene is lit well. You know, you've got some birds here and you've got a blimp in the background. I think it's nice. But there's just a big empty space up here. You know, I just want everything to be up and to the right a little bit more. And then like his name's a little too close to the top for me. How you have it spelled out. I probably would have put Junior for Odell Beckham Jr. You know, just because that's his actual name. Maybe have it right here so it's spaced out a little bit better from the sides. And they would come into this area a little bit better that has nothing on it. But you lit him well. You know, the scene works well as a whole. I just think compositionally, like, where there's just a bunch of empty space. White space is okay. I think you just have a little bit too much in this. We already did one of yours, Cacao Designs, so we're going to stop with Drew S7. There's a lot going on in this graphic. Not in a good way. I don't know really where I'm supposed to look. You've got, you know, Kyler kind of coming off the edge here, but then he's not here and he's just floating. There's nothing for him to land on. I like that you're trying to have him come into the shape of Arizona, but then like all of this stuff in the background is super distracting. But then the most grounded piece you have is him sort of sitting on top of State Farm Stadium. You know, put a shadow in here. Yeah, the background to me doesn't make any sense because it's just like space. I think you need to make everything a little bit smaller to give padding around everything. And then there's just too much going on in the background. And like you ghosted the logo here. You can barely see it. Don't do that. Same with this up here. You know, just have the logos nice and, you know, solid in the corner or something like that. I just think compositionally, I don't know where I'm supposed to look because there's too much demanding attention from my eyes. Like you have a big, little, and littlest, but they're all huge. So I see them all at the same time, especially with this frame you put them in of the shape of Arizona. So keep thinking of other ways to do compositions. I just don't think it compositionally works. It doesn't make much sense to me in my mind. And then all this stuff in the background is a little distracting. I would have made this much more transparent, just as a textural element instead of something you would see more head on. So that does it. Thank you for watching this lovely designed critique Discord critique. This was for a couple weeks ago. I'm going to do this past week's in the next couple days as well. So if you guys want to join my Discord to get a critique like this, the link is in the bio below. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday when I do my regular stream. You guys have a nice day.